Amrit, you sound like you're speaking, but I can't hear you because you're on mute.
Sorry, Basil. No, it's Amrit here. So you worked for me previously on the restaurant and more recently on a residential building called Millbank Court.
Oh, right, so, yes.
Just to give you, I don't want to make it too personal because I'm not sure who else is here for what their buildings are, but just to give you a bit of background, the building, we own the building as owners of the flat, so we own the share of freehold in the building. So that's at this meeting that'd be Damien and myself, and we're also the directors of the management company. So the way that the building is structured, the building is owned by a freehold company, and the management is run by the management company. Which both Damien and I are directors of. How we actually don't do any management. We employ a company called a block managing agent to do the block day-to-day management, if that makes sense. And that their representative is Matthew, who's on the show as well. Now, what I wanted to understand was who would be the principal accountable person? Would that be who our block managing agent is, or would that be the owners of the building?
You, as the owners of the building, would be the PAP, the principal accountable person. But you can, if you like, transfer responsibilities for carrying out your duties. There's no reason why you can't do that. And this is the whole point of the legislation. You've got to surround yourself with sufficiently qualified and capable individuals to help you meet the requirements of the legislation. I don't believe the legislation ever intends for you to just do this by yourselves. Mm-hmm. But it wants to hold somebody to account quite clearly.
So the reason why I'm mentioning is, unfortunately, we had a period with our block managing agent where they were non-existent. They had a mass walkout of staff, etc. And we were, this is why I'm probably so more active in it and liaising with you directly rather than the block managing agents.
Yeah.
And it seems to have kind of working itself out at present. Now, in a scenario like that, although we've delegated it to our block managing agent and, they're just failing to be responsible, then what are, I guess, we still responsible as the owners to make sure we take action to get rid of them and put somebody else in? Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. I mean, that's clear, and that's fairly clear in the law. I mean, by the way, remember, I'm not a legal person.
No. I get it.
Yeah, so it is best that you always make sure you get legal advice.
So the reason why I ask this is because the way I'm looking at it is, you as this role, this non-legal requirement role, would sit pretty well as, let's say, everything's going well with our block managing agent, but they've got bankrupt or something. We don't know who they deal with, but you could sit totally independent to them. And, if somebody goes off into the sunset, as owners of the building, we can just go back and rely on you and pick it up. That's where I feel your system would be good. Yeah. Okay, that's one thing. Then you mentioned in the slides about all the yellow information, etc.
Yeah.
Now, you're doing a fire strategy report for us. You're doing a number of things for us at the moment. Now, do you also essentially offer a service to tick all of those information things? So essentially, you could be our one-stop shop to get the fire door checks done, the fire risk assessments, everything done.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So we can do all of that. I mean, and I'm going to stress there isn't a requirement for you to use us for everything. So if you really want to use someone else, that's not a problem. And we will risk assess everything, genuinely. It's not an issue. I'm fully expecting that there will be reports that come from all sorts of areas. We wouldn't do the structural engineers report, for example, but we could do the door survey. We could do things like your fire risk assessments, your external wall, your past 998.
I think the reason why my questioning is so to tell you a bit about our building at the moment, it's definitely not compliant with any sort of fire regulation because it's an old building, and we're in the process of getting the design approved by, I think Olivia's working on it at the moment. And once that design's done, then we need that to go through to this building safety regulator and get it approved before we start the works, I assume. Yeah. Now, is that, you were mentioning that in your earlier conversations about that's to do with new builds, but what about buildings which are already occupied? We get the design approved by you guys and the package all done, put together by our project manager. Then that goes to the building safety regulator, and we're still not allowed to do anything until the building safety regulator approve it, or we are because it's not a new build? I just want a bit of clarity on that.
That's actually an interesting question. I don't know if maybe you might not fully appreciate why it's an interesting question, but basically the certificate that's issued by the building safety regulator is a certificate that says it's okay now for you to occupy that building. So the inference, as far as I can tell, is that if you don't have that certificate, the building shouldn't be occupied. So I think that, regardless of whether, it's relatively straightforward, I think, if it's a new build. But when you've got a legacy building, a building that already exists, it seems to me that the key thing to do is to register your building as quickly as you possibly can and get your building safety case, etc., up to the building safety regulator and get one of these certificates. Because if there's a problem, I think there's a potential problem where they could turn around and say, we want everybody out of that building. Yeah, okay. So that's what the issue is. So it isn't quite the same thing with a new build, but then a new build wouldn't have anybody occupying it.
So okay, on that basis, then let's say we get our building safety case uploaded. Now, what are we doing in our case? Are we uploading the case on what the planned works are imminently to be? Or are we saying, look, this is the status of it, what it is now. However, this is what we're doing. That
is the latter, most definitely. I mean, okay. we would be telling a story about, what is happening with this building, what it's like now, and what the plan is for the next 6 months, 12 months, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
And I guess the building safety regulator could come back and say, could you show me what you're doing now, please? And maybe you just give them access to the portal or whatever it is you think is the most efficient thing to do, just to show them the progress that's being made.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes complete sense.
No, I'm going to ask if others have questions. Not being rude. Is anybody else want to raise their hand?
Basil, I'd like to ask you about the documentation box that's available for the fire people. The first question is, should that be outside the building, or should it be inside the envelope of the building? Should it be in the reception area or wherever?
I think it should be inside, near the entrance. The reason I say that is you don't want the fire brigade. It's for the fire brigade. You do not want the fire brigade hunting around for this underneath the reception desk. You want this immediately visible to the fire officer as soon as he or she gets into the building. So the idea is they're meant to open it up and be able to open up all of the plans, anything that's relevant to this building, and understand the building quickly. But if they have to hunt around for it, that is really defeating the object.
Right. So, and the material in it, as I understand it, also needs to be digitized and provided to the fire service. Where